used for traditional sports and just apply it to e-gaming, so esports. Sorry. So I think a lot of people still haven't quite figured out how to do it, because you can't just kind of stream something and then just put it up there. It's like with Premier League. I mean, if you're multi-choice, you've kind of got a captive audience. You can just stream something up there. You put in a couple of ex-footballers to talk about it, and people will watch. I think esports is the audience is kind of more fragmented. They're not necessarily in the obvious places. They're not necessarily watching TV. They may be on different, Discord channels, forums, Twitch, like all of these kind of little nooks and crannies of the internet. So it's, getting them together in one place is difficult. I think also because of the nature of it, it's very, it's unregulated and it's international in that, you can have a team of people from all over the world playing esports. You might have a team where one person's from Nigeria, another person's from Korea, etc., and then it's being streamed to someone in England. So, they don't have like strict licensing rules in the same way that, the Premier League might have. So it's a very difficult market, and you don't have necessarily some of the protections that you might have with traditional sports that, like some of the moats. So for a Nigerian player to compete in esports, which is very global, it's going to be difficult. And I think we're all still working out exactly how to, how to crack it, how to market it. So I think it's going to be very hard. I think even if you ask the top players in African esports about how they're doing it, they're still figuring out as well. I think we had some mention of activations, for example, things, but I think the only answer I can say is that it's very different. It's going to be very different from traditional how things have been done for other sports in the past.
All right. Thank you for the response. Let me tail off your response and talk about or ask you about the challenges. I would ask everybody this. Chibukola will also respond to this, and Muchi as well. Putting it into context of Nigeria, what are the major challenges that you have seen? I mean, you've tried to run Paul Sports for a while now. I know La Liga has also tried to do a few activations or promote the league and gain more fan base here in Nigeria. I also know Chibukola does a lot of road races and marathons as well, and trying to capture an audience and sell some kind of sponsorship. So what really has been the biggest challenge, in terms of generating revenue, sponsorship, and marketing so far for you in Nigeria? Let's contextualize it.
I think, given sponsorship and revenue generation hasn't been our main focus. I would say I don't want to talk too much about the challenges, but I think on a macro level, one of the difficulties with sports is that if you went back maybe 10, 20 years ago in Nigeria, I think it's a different situation. When you had a Nigeria team that was, I need to be careful what I say here, but was actually, was doing well, and I think there was a lot more, this is before I even came here, but if you look late 90s, even early 2000s, you had, a really exciting team that a lot of people were really, engaged with and following. You also didn't have the entertainment scene is big. So what's happened, a lot of that money that before in the early 2000s, which was maybe going to sponsor, national team or footballers, your class of the 90s, a lot of that money is now going into influencers, is going into music, is going into film and entertainment. So a lot of that sponsorship money that before might have gone into sports, now sports is kind of a lesser sibling to those, I think, in the eyes of a lot of sponsors. So, we might go to a bank or an FMCG or a drinks company that before they might have put a lot of money into sports, but now they're thinking, well, we can get, why would we get, say, Wilfred Ndidi as our ambassador when we could get an Afrobeat star for a fraction of the cost, who's going to be, is going to be much more popular, is going to resonate a lot more with the youth, because with the exception of one or two players in the Super Eagles team, I think Matteo Sophia to probably add a lot more like knowledge and experience than me on this, but there's, I don't get that sense, especially after what happened against Ghana, that brands or people are like super excited in the same way. So I think we, like as an industry, have to work out like, how do we kind of reverse that? How do we maybe bring some of that excitement about?
But is it the same thing with Ghana, Uganda? Because I know you operate there as well, Kenya.
I think Ghana is kind of easier, like actually for us to monetize a bit. I think at the moment because their entertainment sector isn't as big, so there's less in that competition there. They also have been a little bit more successful in football in recent months. East Africa is different because you don't have the same. You have much stronger local sports scenes there. So you have like Kenyan, or to a lesser extent Ugandan teams that are actually quite popular. Here, outside of the north, I would say like, people don't get hugely excited about like, the local teams in the same way that they do in East Africa. But also East Africa don't have these bigger international stars. So in East Africa, you get a lot of money coming in where people sponsor events like the Safari Rally, which is a rally event. They have a lot more interest in rugby and athletics. So there's, a lot of money actually going in, like, companies like Safaricom, banks, sponsoring like big local events in East Africa, which I don't see to the same extent. Here, I think they have a much more commercialized, like domestic sports scene. It's more organized, it's more investable.
Right. I would ask Muchu now, from a La Liga standpoint, what has been, the biggest challenge in terms of marketing it and getting, more audience? Because we know the likes of the English Premier League seems to be the darling of all, the football fans, and it's a huge competition. And of course, you want to make, the La Liga more popular and more acceptable, to the audience. So what have been some of the things that you have seen or you've experienced in terms of how you guys have tried to, get more numbers in, and
Well, I think La Liga is huge, and we are not just bringing it to people to know La Liga. We are just trying to spread the goodwill of La Liga all over, and that's what we have been doing. And talking about EPL and all that, EPL has not won anything near to what La Liga clubs has won. You can go and check it. I'm not talking about trying to compare and all that, but I believe La Liga is very huge, as is in all over the countries. EPL is not here in Nigeria. La Liga is here. And we have been trying to do everything possible to support in every ways to support Nigerian football. Now, I just want to be specific. I don't want to talking about Nigeria because we are talking about Nigeria here, yeah. And I'm so concerned about Nigerian football, most especially the Nigerian league. It's always going to be very, very difficult for clubs in Nigeria to attract sponsorship because most of the clubs are not structured professionally, and without being professional, it's always going to be very difficult to attract sponsorship, no matter how you market whatever. And we all know what is happening in Nigeria, and it's a big concern to me that our clubs are having difficulties in qualifying for African and all that. Do you understand? So we are talking about marketing and sponsorship here and all that, and I believe clubs should have diversified. I love what Honorable Olopade is doing with marathon. He has changed the face of marathon, and everybody could see how everything is being run. But we need to do something about our own league here in Nigeria. That's just my concern, and La Liga has been trying to help in some ways and all that since we came, and we have taken some of the managers, to Spain, and we've done, a whole lot of things in kind of, support, and we even introduced under 15 to develop players and all that. So I think, we just have to move with time and, the way things are being done over there, and try and replicate here. Everybody loves EPL, La Liga here in Nigeria, and Nigerian League, we have to do the same thing with it. So we have to look inward and see what we are doing very wrong, and try and change the face of things. Yeah.
All right. Maybe Chief Bukola Lokbari can bring his Midas touch to football as well. I know he runs a football club. I will flip the question for him. I asked about challenges from James and Muchu, but I'll ask you instead what you've actually been able to do to get the kind of traction you've gotten for marathons and the sponsorship. How you've been able to drive that, because we've largely spoken about football. Marathons is not something that is naturally endearing to Nigerians. And so what have you been able to do in terms of the strategies you've put out to be able to attract the kind of sponsorship and the marketing strategies that you've put out?
Femi, thank you very much. Again, James spoke to some of my thought process. Gamer Edge, for example, are doing some very wonderful job with esports. They are struggling right now for sponsorship because of value. And I explained to Daniela and a partner that the Nigerian sponsors, the Nigerian organized private sector, are always willing to support sports, but do not go to them with the cliche of visibility. How do you want to give MTN visibility, for example? They are everywhere. How do you want to give access back visibility? They are already everywhere. They are visibility. And so, when I link that to your question, we have been able to sustain the growth of sponsorship within the fundament of the Nigerian sporting industry for a few reasons. And these reasons are also pointed towards the challenges we are facing. My friend, what you mentioned, professionalism. We have too much quackery in sports. We have the Me Too syndrome, where everybody believes because one organization is thriving in sports marketing or sponsorship, they also must do it. But guess what? We have limited organizations within Nigeria that are willing to put their money into sports. And that leads to sponsorship fatigue, where you see that every time you can going without professionalism to the sponsors to say they want this to be sponsored or they want that to be sponsored. The other thing is lack of trust. There is a belief from the sponsors or from organized private sector that all of us in sports are criminals. It is essential, and that was why I said we must relate this topic to the Nigerian way of doing things. It is essential for people to create integrity. So you and I worked together when I was president of wheelchair basketball. Wheelchair basketball was an obscure sport when I took over as president. What did we do? We went to sponsors and I said, you know what? Come and support this sport. Spend the money directly from your office. Don't give us the money. Buy wheelchairs for the teams. Don't give us the money. Order for it. But buy them for the players. Put money in the competition. And for 5 years, we raised over 500 million. Femi, you were there with me. You used to be the MC of my events. That was wheelchair basketball. Show integrity. Show that you can bring value to the table. And when I talk about value, value must be in terms of business value. FMCGs, they want numbers. So if you are bringing 100,000 people to run, that is music to the ears of any FMCG company. We are bringing 20,000, 30,000 people to run. Or we are bringing 40,000 people to the stadium, to the stands, to watch shooting stars. That is music to the ears of a potential sponsor. Why are we struggling? We are struggling because people are not looking at the value they want to take to sponsors. Is there a willingness from the private sector to support sports? Yes, there's a willingness. Or how else do you explain over 14 to 16 billion that was seen in revenue last year through the NFF, through the Confederation, through AFL, through agencies like NILAYO? Together, cumulatively, I have the database of how much money went into sports through the private sector. Once we are able to establish integrity, it becomes a family relationship thing. At NILAYO, without being boastful, we do business with every bank: Stanbic IBTC, NFF, Access Bank, the Marathon, Premium Trust Bank, the National Sports Festival. And these are sponsorship that runs into billions. Nobody is saying, oh, Nilayo, you're already doing this with this bank, why are you coming to us? They are saying, Nilayo, you have brought value to us. Because of the value you've brought to us, we will work with you and we'll put money behind your property. For young people, entrepreneurs willing to do this business, it is essential, it is very important that you study what you want to do first. Study the client you are going to. Ensure you are taking value to the sponsor. When you take value to the sponsor, I guarantee you, money will be made available for your property.
All right. I know a lot of people here are also here to learn and take a few notes. So I'll still stay on you, Chief Olopade, and ask, how do you balance trying to make profit, satisfy your clients, which are the sponsors, and at the end of the day also the athletes, the participants, and the stakeholders that are involved, because all of these interests lie across the value chain, and you still want to put together a very great product. From your own experience, how would you put that out to those who are thinking of creating some event or being a part of some sports and they just want to get sponsorship?
The first thing is to create a niche. Once you have a niche market that is peculiar to you, it makes it easier for you to be creative every year. What we do at Nilayo is that every year we look at our properties and say to one another, what is it we've not introduced that can be attractive to new sponsors? What is it we haven't introduced that can be attractive to the athletes? And above it all, we never ever joke with payments and welfare of the athletes. Once you do that, you discover that you gain traction. More people want to come and be involved with your property. To answer your question in terms of the profit involved, I believe we're still scratching the wall in terms of the kind of money that is in sports. I will be ungrateful to God and to corporate Nigeria if I do not say that the profit in sports is ridiculous. It's crazy. A lot of money is in sports, and at Nilayo Sports Management Limited, we've been able to make a lot of money and we've been able to build capacity. And now we have become sponsors. We sponsored the cross country recently. We supported the police, and we are doing a lot of sponsorship because also we are making money from within the ecosystem of sports, and we're also giving back within the ecosystem of sports. Just create a niche. When you create a niche, own the niche, and be creative every year.
All right, thank you very much, sir. James, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, it's really just emphasizing, I think, on the last point that Chief was making about niches. I think it's really because Nigeria is so football like dominant. It's really the obvious thing to think is like, oh, okay, like football mass market, but the football watching audience is not individually, they're not particularly valuable. You look at who's sponsoring football, it's betting companies, maybe drinks companies, like telecoms, because they're selling, things like airtime, which everybody buys. But individually, your average like EPL watcher, on average, is not, they may be only earning like $50 a month, right? and it's just very hard to sell to them, like to get a good revenue from them. But I think, you mentioned about the marathon. Why is that? I mean, like you're saying, it's a niche, and people who run marathons are generally going to be, earning more than that, because you need to train, you need to go to the gym, you need to, have time to do this stuff. So it's much more valuable. And I think there's some opportunities which probably aren't tapped. Things like, things like NBA, even Formula One. There's like a decent, it's a small following, for example, but something like Formula One in Nigeria, there is a community around that follows that, and even like rugby, right? Or UFC, and these are probably going to be more valuable, person by person. You may have the same like acquisition cost per person, but the unit economics are going to be a lot better, because each of those people is going to be a lot more valuable to you as a customer, than if you try and go mass market. You need to go really, really big, to actually make money out of it.
Right. Thank you very much for that, James. I'll go off to talk about another very interesting topic. I think sometimes it causes a lot of debates when we come to the revenue generated by the players. Now talking about gender equity, women's sports, the traction. For you as a sports media person, what ways do you think, whether it's from a sports media standpoint or marketing standpoint, what can be done, to help increase, the visibility of, obscure sports? We mentioned marathons now, but things like women's sports, because it's a market too. We say the women population is close to 50% of the entire population. Let me use Nigeria in perspective, and they seem to be not in catering to that in terms of the products that's being sold out. I know it's a debate, even in the US and in Europe. But looking at it, what strategies do you think we can be used to approach that, if you have any?
I'm not sure how deep I want to go into this, but I think the assumption that you made there was, like you said, there's a huge women population. I mean, I think there's a mistaken assumption that females are more likely to watch women's sports. I think if you're trying to promote women's sports,
okay,
then
so
your
this
biggest target is probably a male audience.
So I'm looking at it from a product appeal sponsorship side. Yes, there are brands that appeal to the women folks that sponsors, can lashing on to use the same way we use male athletes as influencers. For example, we could get some of those, because women, it's very easy to use them as marketing models, so to speak. So that's where I was looking at it from when I asked that question. Not that they watch it as much, but because they can be used as influencers for female products. Okay, Chief wants to say something.
Well,
Recording in progress.
I agree totally with James that it is not necessarily a situation where women tend to watch female. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. But to your point, I believe again there must be a different strategy towards marketing either women-oriented sports or special sports, special people. And I've always said, create a peculiarity for each of those categories. For example, how would I market a female sporting agenda? It's simple, sentimental approach, same as special sports. And I'll tell you why I say sentimental approach. Do not forget that sponsors are looking, again I repeat, they are looking for value. Last year, Nilayo succeeded in getting a multi-million sponsorship for the Nigerian Women Premier League. And the only way we were able to get that money for the Nigerian Women Premier League was to play on the sentiments on the sponsor, on the girl child being taken off the streets across board. we did not only talk about the girl child being taken off the street, we showed examples of real street girls who decided to become footballers and become breadwinners. And that sponsor said, I'm not going to get value from this, but I'll do it as CSR. And he puts a lot of money into it. I'm talking about peculiar construction. But do not underestimate the power of women in sports. I believe strongly that for those who want to make profit in sports, concentrate more on supporting the women sport. Last year, we succeeded in getting multi-million-dollar sponsorship for both Ese Brume and Toby Amusho. Neither succeeded in getting it. But guess what happened? Before that World Championship, we had approached two banks and we had said to them, watch this space. The women will come with medals, the men will come with no medals. Because again, in athletics, you cannot lie. We need their timing. And when we pushed that narrative, it was so easy for us to go back to them to say, look what Tobias has done. Look what Esebune has done. It is almost the same thing with special sports, where they go to the Paralympics always and win laurels. But guess what? Does the sponsor want to put money there rather than put money in male football or the Super 8 of the league or IMC? No. The sponsor would rather go that way. Now what you need to do is play on the sentiment of the sponsor, show results, and women's sport will continue to drive. For me, I believe the next 10 years, going forward, women's sport will take over and more sponsorship will go into women's sport. Because they are achievers and they are giving us a lot to do.
All right, thank you very much. James?
So I think women's sports in Nigeria is actually like, I think they're quite strong in this respect, in that if you look at like, say a CSAT or Toby Amos, or like, they're right up there with some of the top Super Eagles players, but in terms of like endorsements, but also in terms of like general popularity. So I actually think out of all of the countries that I've seen, like, I think Nigeria is actually doing quite well in that respect. In terms, there's some like very popular and female players that are doing quite well. The other point I'll just make really quickly is that the way I see these like sponsorships and ambassadorships going is it's more and more about off the pitch stuff, and I think that probably plays into the hands of females, because whereas before it's kind of just about how you're on the pitch, like now you see players building brands, doing like fashion collaborations, etc. Doing other businesses. Like there's plenty of examples of athletes, so I wouldn't say they're necessarily the best. Like say for example, in UFC, like Conor McGregor, like was he like the best fighter? Probably like there's a lot of much better fighters, but he made so much more money than anyone else. He's got his own drinks brand, he's got all of this other stuff, and there's examples as well in football of players who really build this like off pitch brand. So I think there's an opportunity if we're going to talk about females. It's not even so much about what they're doing on the pitch. Like it could be, if they can really build their brand, fashion collaborations, drinks brands, all of this stuff which is like completely off the pitch. That's more and more like an indicator of how much money that athlete can make, more so than how well they're doing on the field. So there's a big opportunity there for.
Right. Right. It's good you pointed that out, because I think that's somewhere that is largely untapped for those who are into talent management and manage some of these athletes at various different levels. I think we've not been able to get the best out of some of these athletes, and perhaps they've not put themselves in that position as well. So I don't know if Muchio has maybe one or two tips that professional athletes or football players can use to position themselves well, that will make them attractive to sponsorship or for sponsorship, and they can become brands that some of the sponsors want to affiliate with.
You mean the women athletes?
Both male and female, both women and male.
Well, I just want to, chip in a word about, the female
Please go ahead.
athletes. They are really doing very well. they said about, there's a Brewman, Amuson, and then Aziza Tushuala is doing very well in Barcelona, Femeni. I think...
You have to say that because it's Liga, right?
Even this lady, Rashida Tajibade, in Atletico Madrid. I think, women's sports, growing hugely, in the last decade. And when we're talking about sponsorship and, sponsorship, I think, they deserve, to have, more. Like, we are talking about, gender equality and all these things. I think, they deserve it because, they are really doing very well, and, most especially in Nigeria here, they are making us, proud. And they have even won more trophies than the main team and all that, talking about the Falcons. So I think it's something that, they should, really look on, and I don't mind if they can be even paid, equally like men. The Nigerian Women Football League too, they are doing they are doing very well, and I really appreciate what they are doing.
That got an applause at the back, but it's a debate that would go out of this room, I'm sure. It is interesting, but I like what Chief Olopade said about its sentimental approach. Sometimes if you can't defend the numbers and what you bring back, then you have to play on the emotions. I think it's very critical for us to be able to get ahead, at least get your leg in the room, give something back or sell a course. Because also I realize there's a sudden rise in trend for using sports as a social impact tool, and that also has been able to attract some level of sponsorship and get development going across. But I would like us to, because I'm told we should be rounding up in about 5 minutes. I would like us to talk about how we can merge sports media marketing and sponsorship with creation of fan experiences. I realize that's something that is largely missing in most of our sports packages here in Nigeria, and it's usually a major side attraction. Let me use that language. You look at the NBA, you see how they try to engage the fans. You see that there are direct strategies in creating that experience that keeps them captivated, whether it's through virtual reality or augmented reality, or it's through esports like we mentioned, the FPL and all. How do you see it playing out? How can we begin to think about creating fun experiences? I don't know if Chief Bukola wants to go ahead first on that. Creating fun experiences as a major way of driving sponsorship. How can that be done? Or what are the quickest fixes that we can put in place, to begin to milk that side of not just the event, but that opportunity that is lurking for sponsorship?
Terry, thank you. You've really asked some very important questions. Again, I like to pick examples from my backyard where sports on its own, or a sporting event on its own, that is devoid of media engagement, people engagement, would naturally suffer lack of sponsorship. And the three things you brought together are interwoven. And this is why, if you notice, all the road races we've done, we've always brought in guest artists to come and perform. Because sport is now sportainment, entertainment woven together with sports. And that leads to super engagement of the people. There's something new we are starting now with the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon, where we will have every month a gym, and we'll go to one gym and engage people, put it on digital media, make it trend, so that by the time they are running in February, we'll be able to bring in over 100,000 runners and get our sponsors, FMCGs, to be very happy, the banks to be very happy. I believe strongly that the system must be in sync together. Media, entertainment, sports. And with that, we will thrive as a nation. I'm very optimistic about the next 10 years. Very, very optimistic because I see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. But some of these things that you have mentioned needs to be attached to our sporting events for us to be able to achieve our goals going forward. Let me quickly say this, Sammy. I was very sad when I saw the report last year on the contributory agencies to the GDP of Nigeria, and sport was left out. Sport is a big department that contributes a lot to the GDP of Nigeria, and I just wanted to use your forum to let the authorities know that sport must be taken seriously and must be given the support that it deserves. If you are saying entertainment is contributing to the GDP, then you need to look inwardly to see how many people get employed yearly with from grass to the globe, and we all will benefit from it.
Thank you very much for that submission. Muchu, you want to say something on that as well?
Yes, I think, engaging the fans, it's very, very important, to attract, supports and, for example, in La Liga, we do fan engagements, and, the fans, they win jerseys, balls and all the other things, and, some fans are even won ticket, to go and watch live matches in Spain. So it's very, very important to engage, the fans to attract them and, bring them, towards you.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it's critical that sports marketers, event planners begin to look at that angle. Very easily, the NBA All-Star Weekend jumps at you, where we had Rema, we had Burna Boy and Thames perform at the games, and now Burna Boy headlining, the UEFA Champions League final that is sponsored by Pepsi. So very easily you see those opportunities that are always there that can be milked. So my final question to everyone on the panel is, what do you see as the biggest trend and changes that is going to be taking place, say, in the next 5 years when it comes to sports marketing, the media approach, and sponsorship? I'll start with you, James. But you want to think about it first? Okay. Let me start with Chief Olopade.
Well, media trends. I believe strongly that digital marketing will play a major role in the next 5 years. So you must have the expertise in that. But I also believe, because I like to talk again according to the peculiarities of my country, Nigeria, you cannot market any sporting event using the American strategies or the European strategies to get sponsorship. I believe strongly that old media, I believe strongly that media activation that are physical and palpable would go a long way in the next 5 years for us to be able to do good business with sports, but do not underestimate the power of the digital marketing. Virtually everybody wants to be part of it. Mutia Adepoju mentioned it. Today, a match is played in Spain. Within 1 minute, you get the playback everywhere, resonating everywhere. So we cannot underestimate digital aspects of media in sports going forward. But I am very, very sure that if you want to sustain a sports business in Nigeria, you must still have the backing and support of old media, because that is what the sponsors are looking at. They want to be everywhere, and the only way they can be everywhere is through such mechanism.
All right. Before I get to the last two panelists, so if we have questions in the house for any one of them, please let's begin to note it down. I'll give us the opportunity to ask. Muchu, trends in sports marketing, in sponsorship, in the media, the next 5 years, where do you see this going from, maybe the La Liga standpoint or for the Nigerian football world standpoint?
Well, I think, the social media platform, the digital channels, they are still going to be very, very effective and, very, very important. Platforms like, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that, and all others, they are still going to be very, very important. And it's going to take us, a long way. And it's going to improve, marketing and sponsorship too.
James?
So there's a few things which I think are related. I think more and more sports, there's going to be more and more like state money coming into sports globally. So like governments investing in sports, for example, from the Middle Eastern governments. So I think that's going to put more and more money into sports. I think globally, more and more is going to be concentrated on a small number of top players and teams. So rather than the pie being shared equally, the pie is going to get bigger, but it's going to become more concentrated on the bigger teams. I think we will see the Super League happen over the next few years. I don't think it'll be called that. But I see those big teams, those big players, those big brands becoming much bigger, and I see them becoming brands that kind of transcend sport. So, and I see things becoming less and less about on the pitch, both for players and teams. So I expect sports and like brands to be making more and more of their money on commercial deals as opposed to broadcast or match day. So it'll be more to do with, like I say, things that are off pitch, and I think that applies to both people and players. I think watching live matches has been like decreasing for a while now globally. In terms of young people just aren't watching like live events as much to the same extent, at least not all the way through. So I think we'll see TikTok is going to be like a massive platform, and I think there'll be copycat platforms as well, and sport will become more about like these tiny kind of moments, memes, entertainment things, and again it'll become less and less about the spectacle on the pitch, or at least it'll become about specific moments that happen on the pitch, and it'll become about all of that other stuff that happens off the pitch, the entertainment, gossip, banter, and as I say, concentrated in the space of a few clubs, or a few brands. So I think the question in Africa, it makes it difficult, because obviously those brands are probably not going to be African ones, and you see it especially here where so many more people are watching international sports than Nigerian sports. But those are some of the trends I see globally.
Thank you very much. Please can we put a round of applause for the panelists. So we'd like to open the floor for any questions. If we have specific questions for any of the panelists that we want to ask. So we'll take a few. Okay, we have a hand there. Okay, we have another one there. Maybe we'll take 5. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Good morning, all. Let me thank Chief Mutiu and Mr. James for a job well done. My question is fallout of yesterday's engagement. We are told the market is in Nigeria, but yet to be tapped. And Chief made us to understand that the new and the old media need to come together. So my question will go directly to Mr. James. In Nigeria, yesterday we were told we have over 400 clubs at the NLO level where the grassroots football is being taken to. How do we bring this grassroots football to the teeming fans of Nigeria? Knowing fully well that Mr. Mutiu told us that from 2019 to 2023, there was an increase of the media space. I'm asking, how do we curtail this with Nigerian factor of not having good service and the rest? We need to get our audience engaged, the fans engaged, and revenue will be generated through that means. So I'm asking you directly on what to do on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jude.
My name is Jude.
Thanks, Jude. I think there's a long answer and a short answer, which the long answer we can discuss separately. I think the short answer is that for Nigerian, not just for the NLO, but for Nigerian sports leagues, etc., is that if we try and compete directly with international brands, then it's just not going to work. I mean, no matter how much investment you put into the NPFL or the NLO, you're never going to have the same quality of pitches, broadcast and stadiums as EPL. Like, you're never going to compete with them on that level. So I think the important thing is for the Nigerian sports assets to compete on a different level. Like, you find a way that they're unique. So I mean, if you're trying to compete on like broadcast times, for example, with the Premier League, like, you're just not going to be able to beat it on that game because they have hundreds of billions of dollars going into it. But if you can find a way to be unique and do something completely different, maybe play into those geographical, have like really geographical focused strategies, really play around the match day experience, focus on maybe the people and their backgrounds and get people to relate to that, then I think that's where the opportunity is. But you need to be really specific about how are we doing this differently. Like, why would you watch us instead of the Premier? It's not going to be instead of. That's the point, is you don't want to compete directly with them because you're just never going to be able to win if you play the same game.
Morning, Kiton Later Olagbegi, sports lawyer. This is your Later Olagbegi and Associates. I've also been involved in grassroots football, setting up academies, 3 or 4, across the country. My question goes to Headmaster, with you. It's two-pronged. The first one is, what are the 2 things that you would do if you had the absolute power to improve the Nigerian professional league? Just 2 things. And the second one is, maybe to James, for Nigerian youth football on the 17 level, what are the 2 things you think Nigeria needs to do to improve it?
Well, I think you want to put me on the spot. Anyway, I think, structure is very, very important. And if, there is no structure, there is no way that you can, improve on the level of, professionalism that, you want. For example, Nigeria is a very, very big country. And we just have to structure Nigeria. And starting from, the youth level, all the clubs. Like, what we brought in from La Liga, introduced to NPFL, like the under 15. It's not just for them to have under 15 every year in April during Easter period and all that. We mandated the clubs to have under 15 and to have it permanently, and other structures too, other under 13, under 17, and all that, so that they can, the players can grow in ranks and all that, which we discovered that is not being done. Every year that we are staging the under 15 in Easter, clubs will go and just 2 weeks before the competition to go and take players from anywhere, and there is no continuity and all that. So if there is no structure, it's very, very difficult. And the reason why we brought this is that idea is the way it operates in for example, in Spain. And all clubs have categories and all that. So if all clubs have categories here, we're not going to be talking about problems in under 17, problems in if they are playing their league week in, week out, we structure it. Southeast, they are playing their own league. Southwest, Northeast, and all that. If they are structured, coaches would be monitoring all the players, and I mean, they will be getting the players, I mean, into the national team, and we are not going to be having problems. We are going to have, I mean, continuity. We are going to have control and all that. But if that is not done, and I mean, every time we want to go to under 17, they bring, I mean, 1,000 or 5,000 players to Abuja to come and do screening and all that, we're not going to get, I mean, to anywhere with it. So it's a problem of, I mean, structure, problems of, I mean, planning and, I mean, executing and trying to make, I mean, things work. So I think, Laurie, yeah, I think, I mean, sorry, can you?
Under 17.
I think I've answered, because if there is no structure, we're going to have, be having problems. You see, it's going to be very difficult for government to pull out. But government should, give, enabling environment, and, employ people that, know how to do it, not just, by putting, then they should be run professionally. That's, the clubs, that's, what I mean. Should be run professionally, not just, putting or trying to, you understand what I mean.
On the under 17 thing, I can't speak with as much experience, for example, as with you. It's kind of an awkward age, because I think probably the difference is going to be made in the ages below that. As well, if you look in Europe, they're picking people up age 9, 10, 11. By the time you got to 17, if you haven't been in a really good quality academy, you're not going to be able to make that difference, because that age, there's people already playing in the Premier League. But I think Right to Dream in Ghana is a super interesting example, and I think I can't speak about a government level, how to change everything, but I think I feel like there's an opportunity if someone comes up with that money, which is tens of millions of dollars, to do something like what Right to Dream have done in Ghana. I think there's a massive opportunity here, because there's a lot more talent in Nigeria than there is in Ghana. And it's an investable opportunity. They recently received $120 million in investment from Mansour Group. So, if you have that money, then I'd be love to talk about something like that. But yeah, I think what's really interesting about Right to Dream is that they not just address the footballing side, but also the cultural side. Sending developing their people as characters and educating them, as well. But that's a longer discussion.
May I quickly say something?
Please go ahead, sir.
I know this question was not directed at me, but I believe strongly that attitude, our attitude as Nigerians to age group football needs to change. The attitude of us winning every tournament needs to change. The age limit tournaments are meant to create a pool of players that will grow up into the Super Eagles. But guess what? Coaches are put under pressure to do some of the things that they do for us to have those under 17 and those under 20. I agree with you, Adepoju, completely. You cannot bring in 1,000 players to say you are doing screening and have quality. Go back to the club side. Kule Shoname of Bet Nigeria and Raymond United has built a 12 billion naira facility. James is talking about the $120 million. That's almost more than $120 million, if my calculations are right. A 12 billion naira facility with a lot of young players, with a lot of young tournaments being played. Let me tell you what we did at Thomas Football Club. Because we do not have 12 billion naira, we went to the Ogun State government and said, let's create a partnership. Give us one secondary school. They gave us Baptist Boys High School. We went around the state to pick genuinely young players within the age of 13 and 17. and we put them in one school, 40 of them, paying their tuition, their feeding and everything, 40 of them are in one school. We do not have money for an academy, but guess what? Without partnership, we now have an academy in partnership with Ogun State Government and Baptist Boys High School, where the coaches can easily go and watch tournaments being organized for that age group and pick quality players. It cannot be screening, but we also, as the audience, as stakeholders, should please, for God's sake, stop expecting Nigeria to win every youth tournament. The youth tournament is to groom and create a pool of players for the senior national team. It's not for us to win at all costs. The win at all costs is what is disrupting our age limit football.
Yeah, in addition to what Bukola Olokwade just said, is to create, the under-17 is to create players, to improve players, to the Super Eagles. For example, I think, the only professional club that I see in Nigeria is, Remo United. We just finished, the under-15 tournament there. And Remo Stan won this, last year, and they won back-to-back, this year too. It's because of, the facilities that he has, and, the way he perceives football, and the way they are training and developing players. For example, his under-13 team represented Wiki Tourist, because Wiki Tourist didn't, bring under 15 to participate, and they now asked him to give them the under 13 and all that. So players are being formed, players are being improved, they are being trained, and to get into the senior national team. So if you can get the kind of facilities in every state or every region and train players, like that, we're not going to be having problem when they get to the Super Eagles, and we're going to have good clubs, good teams, and we're going to have good leagues if it's been run professionally. That's just my addition to what
Thank you very much. I know there's someone who's in the back here.
Hi, good morning. I'm Maxwell Kalu, founder of the African Warriors Fighting Championship, with the biggest name in Dambe, which is traditional northern boxing. Chief, this question is for you in particular. I really enjoyed the points you made around the importance of niche. We have a very particular niche, and as such, we've been able to become one of Africa's best sort of success stories, and very quietly, very low-key. So two parts of this question. Do you have any interest in traditional sports, and what do you think the potential is for the area, for the sector?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all congratulate you for picking that niche. The market for that is very wide. Nilayo will be ready to partner with you to sell that to Nigeria. I am a huge fan of traditional sports, Langa, Dambe, and Kokowa. When I was commissioner for sport in Ogun State, those three sports were almost being dropped from the National Sports Festival. But I fought for it, and it became the biggest engagement of the people. Thousands of people went to watch Dambe and Langa and Kokowa. And I believe, again, because of the peculiarity of who we are, that is a niche that I completely believe can be sold to the private sector, that can create engagement with millions of Nigerians, and that you and I can make money from. So talk to Jumoke and Chidima, they are right there in the hall from Nilayo. When we smell the Naira, we go for it. We would like to partner with you to see how we can promote Dambe, Langa, and Kokowa more at the national level. So Chidima, please close that gentleman down and let's do business together.
Someone just did business here now. But that's why we are here anyway. Yeah, to network and to meet people. And I think if you are thinking of something and you are not sure you want to make that move, you better make that move right now. Yes, sir.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emmanuel, and I'm from Nilayo Sports Management Limited.
Okay.
So in Nilayo, beyond the marathon races and co, we are also involved in some other sporting activities as well. Like you mentioned earlier, we have football club. So my question goes to Mr. Mutiusa. La Liga, as a body in Nigeria, what opportunities are they creating to help football in Nigeria for some people that have football clubs in Nigeria and the sports business owners and entrepreneurs? In Nilayo, like I mentioned earlier, it's also a grant for us to survive, to create business of our own, and also as a business entrepreneurs. So I want to ask again, how can we take advantage of any opportunities that can be created by La Ligas in Nigeria? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, we are trying as much as possible to create opportunities, and that is why La Liga is here in Nigeria. Whatever you want or whatever you need, whatever idea that you have, you can talk to us, and we'll look at it and see how we can go through it together. There are so many clubs, and academies that we have linked with Spanish La Liga in Spain. For example, Mis Palace, we've linked them with Leganés in Spain, Madrid, and they are working together, and let's see what comes of it. So we have a lot of opportunity. We listen to you. If you bring your ideas and all that, we look at it together and see the way we can move forward.
So first it was Mr. Kalu, now we have Nilayo. Everybody's shooting their shots. It's fine.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Is it afternoon or morning? Morning, everybody. My name is Deji Omotoyibo. I'm a sports content consultant. I see a lot of well-known faces here. One thing, I just want to make an observation, it's not a question. There is a direct correlation between media and sports. And I'm involved in a TV station called Afro Sport TV, which some of you might know. We decided to start that station because we realized that there are lots of sporting activities that go unreported because they are not, it's not football, it's not basketball, it's not the major sport. And if you check all the countries where there's a huge success in sports marketing and development, they have a local station that curates their sports and puts it out there. Super Sport for South Africa. They will show their university sports. They will show whatever local sports they need to show. ESPN will show secondary school basketball, college basketball, is a huge one, NCAA March Madness. So we felt that for Nigerian sports, there has to be a local station which we've started, for which I'm the content consultant, that curates sports. The gentleman that spoke about Dambe has a show on our platform. 30 minutes every week, I guess. Last week we did something with the Nigerian Amputee Football Federation. Next week we're doing something with the Nigerian, there's a team going to Sacramento. What's his name? Yomi Kuku. Yomi Kuku's team, Homeless World Cup. We are giving them, Philip. Bukola mentioned something about some of these guys, Amputee Federation, we're putting them on TV. It's not likely they will give sponsors the value, but I'm sure a few companies, when they start, will see CSR. I want to help these people. Same thing with the Homeless World Cup. So, I'm not shooting my shot. I'm just telling you that
you have shot your shot.
There is a platform that would help you, because other platforms will not take your content because they feel, I think you made the point, some of the sports, nobody would help you. But I go back to some of the sports need to help themselves. When I was sports manager, BBN, in 1994, for the other sports to know the things they need to do, because we were a heavy sports inclined channel, I was one. We wrote letters to all, I think there were 38 sports federations then. I personally wrote a letter to 38 sports federations telling them, we are here. We can help you do your events. We did squash, we did cricket, we did some lesser events. But do you know the only federation that responded to our letter? It was only NFA. Interestingly, some of the other sports found a free platform and they just turned their back. Without the media, whether it is online, whether it's there's no niche you want to grow that you will succeed if you do not partner with the media to try and get it done. So I'm saying that we decided to start Afro Sports because we realized we need it for our media industry, for sports to grow. Super Sport will not carry Nigerian Amputee Football Federation. They will not. But we will, because for us it's a niche and we're cultivating sports. One thing about sports is that it gives opportunity for a child that would, 90% of sportsmen are probably indigent family backgrounds. So sports gives that platform. And we always have to continue to push that platform. Because without sports, a lot of these guys will probably be nobodies and end up as criminals. So we must protect their interests by making sure these platforms are well protected and well promoted. So thank you very much for this, and I thank you for the opportunity.
That was a 3-point shot from Steph Curry range. Well, you scored, Sha. You scored. It's fine. Yeah, the man in front. That's the man in
front. Thank you once again to the resource persons, both here and online. My name is Harun Audu. I think I'm probably the only polo player here. My background is in polo. I was secretary of Just Polo Club for 8 years. And of course, I was tournament manager severally. I'm also tournament consultant. I'm happy he mentions Meads. They're in Jaws, and they're very good friends of ours. So I wear a couple of caps. I'm the group external communications advisor for NASCO Group. There was a time NASCO we took over Mighty Jets, and it was known as NASCO Jets. But beyond that, I also, my marketing communications firm, we worked with the Jos University Teaching Hospital Football Club, known as the Healers, when they made first division. Samson Siasa was appointed their technical advisor. He never showed up, by the way. So we managed their home games. So that's my experience in sports. I was excited to be part of this. I flew in from Jaws because I'm subscribed to Olisa Abakuba Liga. I just wanted to get the experience, hear experts speak, and perhaps pick up a thing or two. And I must confess, it's been worth the while. Just listening to Chief, I don't know where he's talking from. Are you talking from Abeokuta? I'm not sure. But
London.
I'm really excited to hear all the conversation about sports in this country. I have a question, so just bear with me. Sports is huge. I'm happy to hear about the Nigeria sports industry policy that's been almost at the last tail end of it becoming official document. It speaks to how as a country we're now waking up to the reality and value of sports in our socio-economic space. So I'm speaking generally to what I have heard in the last for 24 hours, going 36 now, but to also raise this fundamental question. And I'm happy that Chief Bukola has played the public sector. He's been a commissioner. I'm looking at the intersection between the public sector and the private sector. How can we optimize their participation to improve on infrastructure and facilities? Because starting yesterday, and I'm an avid consumer of sports news. I know the conversation has always turned on not just the talents. I think there's no arguments that we have talents across the board in just about every sport. But the challenge is infrastructure, facilities that will serve the country. How do we get, so my question is, how do we get the public sector partner with the private sector? Because the public sector is important. We can't ignore, anyone that ignores government does it at their own peril. Government is very important, but how do these two come together to optimize facilities, whether it is soccer, whether it is Dambe, whatever it is? So that's my question. Is it doable? And I think other countries have shown that this is doable. Sir, you have been the public sector, you are now private sector. What are the ideas that we can all tap into to encourage our respective public sector organizations and some of us in the private sector to optimize facilities and infrastructure? Thank you.
Wow. May I?
Yes, please. You can go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for that contribution and the question. I think somebody spoke earlier on about the importance of government, the public sector, having a very symbiotic relationship with the private sector and with the sporting community. You cannot, and I agree with you totally, separate government from sports. If the private sector is responsible in looking for the money, bringing the athletes, creating the competitions, the public sector must ensure that facilities are built and maintained and are utilized for our children. My elder, the Jokuto Ibo, mentioned one reality. 90% or more of people who are involved in sports, but of course, except for polo and golf, are indigent people. That simply tells you one thing, that sport is a veritable tool of empowerment. And it is the responsibility of government to empower young people to create wealth for people and take poor children off the streets and make them productive. And that means they must put in place facilities that can be utilized by the indigent people through the private sector. Now, facilities built and not utilized would die naturally. As the commissioner, I built 3 stadiums without government, and at the time, those facilities we built were taking care of almost 6 premiership teams in Nigeria, where teams came from other states to play in Ogun State. That was revenue. I boast every time that before I left government, we have recouped more than 1 billion naira of the money we use in building Ijebu because of the Under 19 World Cup and so many other initiatives, Under 17 World Cup and so many other initiatives that we put there. So, to your question, there must be a symbiotic relationship, a very thriving symbiotic relationship between the private sector and the public sector. Facilities has to be the responsibility of government. But of course, if you not have assets like Honorable Kule Shoname, who has built a 12 billion naira facility, then great. Private sector, as a private sector, you can do that. But let me tell you this. First, Honorable Kule Shoname to have been able to build that facility, government must have been able to give out the lands, government must have been able to provide some sort of support. Because the government has said, we are not giving you planning permits. You would have been able to build such a humongous, fantastic facility. So that relationship must exist, and that relationship would definitely go far in helping sports business in thriving. I just believe those who say government should take their hand out of sports really do not understand the strength that government comes with in developing sports.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I think we'll take one final question before we close this session.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I am Mike Abello. I'm a first-team coach at Sporting Lagos. So my question goes to Headmaster. There used to be a La Liga coaching course for youth coaches in Nigeria. The last edition was on 6th February 2020, just before the COVID. So our football, when we gather like this in the sport industry and we talk of Nigerian football, everybody is always complaining about the administrators and all that, but we have a serious coaching problem in Nigeria. And La Liga was kind of a gap for our youth coaches. That has stopped. So I want to know, it has not happened for the last 3 years. I want to know why has it stopped, if it's going to continue, and when exactly it's going to continue.
Well, it hasn't stopped. We did the last one before the tournament in April. precisely 10th to 13th of April. I was the one that did it in Remo and in Nikena, because that was where we had the only time we didn't do well during COVID in 2020 or 2021. We did it online. Then 2022 we didn't do it because the NPFL, they didn't respond on time, so we couldn't bring it. So this year we did it, and I was the facilitator, and I was the one that did the coaching courses. We had so many coaches that came. Now, La Liga, we understand the problem of coaching in youth development, and we understand the problem we are having in Nigeria, and that's why we organize that. And before the under 15 tournament, there must be a refresher courses for the coaches to be able to handle the players, the youth players very well and all that. And that was why we started bringing coaches from Spain and all that. You understand? And we are still keen on that, because coaching is very, very important. How to handle the young players, how to groom them, how to in a modern coaching system and all that. And those are the things that are very, very important. Probably you didn't know when we had the last one here. But we have been having it, and we'll continue having that every time. So I agree with you that the problem we are having in Nigeria is about coaching, and we understand that all coaches should be updated. They should be trained and in a global way. So we will continue doing that.
Right, thank you very much. I think on that note, we'll call it a wrap on this first session. So can we put our hands together for everybody that has participated and contributed? So there's still another session after this, and there's a master class as well. But before we go, I think we would like to say a big thank you to Honorable Bukola Olokpade for joining us all the way from London. Okay, you see technology, that's what COVID did. We can have him join us virtually. Thank you so much, sir, for coming through. Thank you, James.
Thank you very much.
For taking our time to come through. He's dressed Nigerian, I agree, and the headmaster himself, Muchado Kodri, for all the work you're doing with La Liga. Beverly.
So it's just time for pictures, if that's all right, and the awards.
Can I join the pictures too?
Oh, please, you are so in the pictures. Please, can we focus on him? Can we put the focus? Okay, thank you so much. Very enlightening panel. So if the awards can come, please. Thank you so much. Do you want to open up? So on behalf of Chief Olokpade Bukola, we have Jumoke Adekani, who will be receiving your plaque. Thank you very much for your insights, your contributions. I actually did have a question, but I guess I don't want to take us back. So on behalf of us at OAL, we're presenting this to... So this is for your boss. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And then the next one is for James. Thank you, James. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pulse, for sponsoring and supporting sports business events, because we need these sort of events to, synergize and network and connect. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Samutu Adekboju, Headmaster.
Thank you, everybody.
Who's that? Oh, okay. Apparently, we need to take one here as well. No, they can come now. Okay, so let's have one here. Let's have one in the back there.
Please join the panelists. Keep the memory alive. When I was with Headmaster, when I was with James, okay. Jumoke, are you not joining for Chief? Okay. Go to the back of Headmaster. Marco, you are tall now. The guy will pick you. Aha, you see, you are coming late. Let me remove the chair so that it will be comfortable. Okay. Okay, we have good photographers here.
Okay, so right now we can take a tea break. I know we've been sitting for 2 hours. Not easy. So you're welcome to have some tea, and then the premium ticket holders can have breakfast. And then we jump into the next session, which is on sports administration. And I really like the fact that the last panel began to go into the topic of administration. Headmaster was very adamant that without structure, you cannot build on structure. We are also going to do in the break a quiz by Olawiyi. So do you want to come take the quiz as well? So have some tea, have some coffee, have some biscuits, some snacks, network, speak to people in the room, and yeah, okay.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. So, just 5 minutes after the tea break section, we'll be having a quiz on stage and a giveaway presentation. So, just 5 minutes, get your tea from the tea table there, then you can have your seat. Thank you.
Hello all. Okay, so the thing is, just raise your. Are we all ready? Okay. Just listen. 5 seconds, please. In which year did Mutiu Adepoju played his last game for the Nigerian national team? In which year did Mutiu Adepoju played his last game for the Nigerian national team? Nobody? Okay, sorry, we have someone here.
2002.
Location, where? No, don't pardon me. There are two prizes attached to this question. So if you are just okay with me giving just one of the prize, are you okay? Which year? Just take a guess. 2002. Okay. Oh, that's correct. World Cup in Japan, 2002. All right. So this from OAL, our book on sports, and this is Jesse from Agai Sports. Okay, you have the. Just give us. All right. Now the question number 2. This one is quite simple and open for everybody. This one, 2 seconds. Just raise up your hand. Okay. Who was the last Ballon d'Or winner and which team did he play for? Yeah? That's wrong. Oh yeah, which team? That's correct. Karim Benzema, Real Madrid. Please. Thank you. So the last question. Okay. These are too simple. Come on.